I'm Bel Bare. This is Sacred Mechanics. So it's 5 a.m. and I just wanted to record a little something this morning in the quiet of the house. I try and set things up by candlelight these days before the sun is up, and when the sun goes down it's really quite connecting. I love it. It seems to improve my thinking and clarifies things, especially in the context of a Sacred Mechanics podcast. And that's why this podcast isn't video-based at the moment, because of all these unusual environments that I've been recording in. Not to say that one day this will become a video podcast. I think it might be easier to watch and get more involved if you're looking at someone speaking, but for now it's just you and me audio. So thanks for joining. I have a couple of things on my mind, and it's really about the processes we go through in finding our spirituality through life, finding what works for us, and also rules and structure. I'm finding that as I grow my business, Sacred Mechanics, I'm forced to put a form around spiritual process, and it's much like putting form around creative process. It's very difficult to grasp and put a firm shape. So I'd like to freestyle this one a bit and raise a few points and observations, and I'd love to hear what you think as well, because naturally we all have a completely unique experience and different processes. And I think the key point of spirituality, besides learning about ourselves in our life, is to teach others and to share information with each other. We're all here to essentially learn the same things as far as consciousness, mastering being a human, learning what we're here to learn. This can only happen through sharing and intimate connections with ourselves and with others and with source energy. Structure and spirituality, religion, process is man-made construct. I think in the spirit world and in the unseen world, there's very little structure, and it is the only way that we, in our human experience, can process much at all. And I know that I've explored several structures of spirituality in my time so far. I suppose when I say structures, I mean belief systems, practice. I think I've run the gauntlet in this. I'll just let you know a quick rundown of the structures that I've explored in my lifetime. I think the earliest is the completely unformed and the taught from others around me. As a very young child, I had many high-impact spiritual experiences as a young girl that no one believed. So maybe that was the purest, because I couldn't have the mind to structure it. I took everything at face value and thought it was beautiful and awesome and life was magic. Then I was put into a Catholic school. I stayed in Catholic school until I graduated year 12 high school. And my high school was a Marist brother run school where there were only men running the school, and in the primary school actually there were some nuns, and that wasn't Mara's brother, but the high school was Mara's brother, so there was firm structure there. And I think there were some beautiful teachers that I had that would try to dodge the obvious conversations of inquiring 16 or 17-year-old minds in our religion class that was right up after our science class, and be like, how and why is this all fitting together? And they were like, never mind, don't bother your pretty little heads about this. Then I leave school and I try to find my sort of spiritual roots back to childhood and reconnect with that. And then it's very hard to grasp anything working alone in that way, and working on memory and feeling only without guidance. I started using tarot more and knew nothing of witchcraft. It sounded really scary, actually, so I didn't go there, but I was just working with tarot crystals and spending a lot of time in nature, completely unformed, and maybe this was really good and healthy for me. And as I grew into, in my early 20s, I thought maybe Buddhism is somewhere I can find some answers. And so I read the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying, got myself some mala beads, started actually studying heavily and reading a lot about that belief system, and coming in cold and alone without someone to talk to about this. It's really hard to grasp and understand a lot of the concepts. So I think this is why it's taken me such a long time to develop spiritually. I'm now 53 years old. After Buddhism, I got into, I'd moved to Byron Bay and had my first child. And I was sort of, during those corporate years in between Buddhism and motherhood, I just had my tarot deck and my crystals and odd trips to Byron Bay, and that was sort of my thing. And I was realizing that my clairvoyance was strengthening, so I started working with that a bit more, and automatic writing and things like that. Still uneducated in this way, unstructured. Then finally I started taking some courses, and I was learning all sorts of things, and I couldn't stop after that. It was really cool just to meet like-minded people for the first time in my life. I started having a lot of intense spiritual experiences just before these classes actually, and had to go to like a health camp for a week because I checked myself in because I was freaking out because I'd become scared of the dark. There was so much going on, and I think now that this is a result of no proper education or skill applied to my sensitivities, and I had certain experiences in this week camp because I was able to work for one of the first times with people that could guide me. I'd learnt about, at the time was really called rebirthing, and I practiced my first proper meditation sessions, Tai Chi. I'd learnt about energy and food and things we ingest in the environments we're in. This is just a 5-day thing, like a week, so it was a quick taster, but I just sponged all of that up. Then I went to spiritual classes for years after and learnt about energy healing, theta healing, practiced divination, and realised that I was a medium. And realising I was a medium was really special and important to me. And then I just got more in tune with my body, knowing when spirit was near and the physical sensations I would get. Then I drifted into witchcraft in a really special way where I didn't understand so much that there was a darkness around it. I see that it gets a really bad rap, and there's a spectrum of dark and light. But in that practice, it appealed to me because it's nature-based, and I love nature, and I work as a horticulturist sometimes, and I just have a real affinity with plants, animals, rocks, spaces. So I got to practice in nature and was fairly eclectic in that work. And I think that work was useful for me as a person that doesn't spend much time with others in a spiritual context. And I was a young mother, single mother for some of that time, my first daughter. And my library started to grow, and a lot grew from there. And I'm telling you all of this because I know that a lot of people out there feel this urge to connect spiritually, and it's natural for us to find structure, to suckle on almost, like to find what it is. And it's okay if you can't quite find it straight away, and it's okay if it takes decades or it's a life journey. You know, you go, like me, Buddhism, witchcraft, sort of New Age practices, theta healing, and then I became absolute groupie of Doreen Virtue for a while. I went to see her speak and just started oracle cards and angel work, and all of these things have given me facets and education in some way that I bring into my practice every day still. But what I do is none of them. Then I expand. Something's happened to me in the last 12 months or so where my impression of everything I've learned and everything new I pick up to read and is much more expansive. I can understand and grasp things in a completely new way. Really simple texts mean something different to me now. Ones that I read years ago, I pick them up now, and it's like I understand it in a completely different concept. I understand as much as I can at the moment from a different place, God. And I think I explained my position on all of this fairly well in my recent short film, Citizens of Eternity. And that's sort of the last half of that, or at least 50% of that, is channeled information. That's just a stream of consciousness that comes to me that I apply that voiceover to footage. Anyway, what I'm getting to is shamanism. Once I understood that everything is conscious, animism and shamanism pulled into focus for me because of all the different practices and techniques I'm using where I'm communicating with anything. I realized when I was able to communicate with an object like in trance, like a table and its energy and its stories, that it was telling me that we are in this most magical realm, and shamanism is a structure that helps humans understand so many facets of our capacity as spiritual beings. With shamanism, spirit doesn't care where we're from or our lineage. It's not owned by any indigenous group, although many indigenous groups applied it. I would say that shamanism has come about because when left to our own devices as human beings, these are the tools we naturally want to use, and it's so beautiful for that. And what's even more beautiful is that shamanism is still so popular today, but I know that a lot of people, including myself, have skirted around it, being like, is this appropriation from somewhere? No. We are human, and as humans, this is our natural magic and way to connect if we feel so inclined and feel that calling. I have in my matriarchal lineage very magical, powerful women, but this is not how I was taught. I'm spirit trained in shamanism through all the spontaneous spiritual experiences I've had with other beings and paths I've been guided on by other beings and things I've been shown and instructed, words, shapes, symbols, introductions and processes. But I feel like shamanism itself is a box as well, and a structure to help us understand, and it helps us put handles on things, and shamanism is a handle and a way to explain to others what we're doing, and also the kinds of shamanism at the moment. I don't know what to say about my practice. It feels Celtic. The things I love lean towards druidry. Celtic shamanism is awesome, and I'm also Maltese, and there's such a black spot there where the ancient ancestral information is simply lost. There's been many civilizations that have lived on Malta, and Lord knows what's in my DNA. I don't know. So I practice shamanistic things, not really knowing where I come from or why. I just know what I know. And maybe for anyone out there that resonates with this, maybe it's more powerful for some individuals to not worry about where this comes from or what it is, and just go with it and go with the flow and keep learning and practicing and purifying your connection to source so that you can heal, grow and help others and your environment. So sacred mechanics is what I've called this podcast, and my business of healing, clairvoyance, are helping people spiritually and mentoring and education. I'm finding I'm having to formulate my own way, and there's so many modalities that it's a container, I suppose, where I'm having to put all this different stuff that I've learned into this one container so I can convey it to others. What I'm trying to say is there's all these containers, modalities, rules, religions, processes, labels people can't help using. But to spirit, it's one formless, infinite, breathing, I suppose, living movement that's universal, and it's a matter of what we tune into with our little antennas at different points in our life as human beings here to experience. So in my living experience, I've had my little antennas go all over the place, and I've learned all this different stuff, some not very deeply, some major deep dives that have been many, many years long. And we resurface from time to time with new information or a new knowing or a new sense that didn't come from a book. My most powerful spiritual experience I've had of beings visiting me in my waking reality without speaking or communicating with me verbally and maybe show me a picture or two, I still try and decipher the messages now. They left me such a strong visual and emotional impression. I've got plenty to chew on for the rest of my life to understand it. So you're not going to understand everything, maybe ever, in your experiences. So we work with what we can manage in our hands at any given moment with the pure purpose of living to our fullest capacity possible and sharing it with each other. So any new knowledge that comes in, I don't own it. I am an antenna for the next person that happens to be listening to me, where there's a kernel of truth for them in anything that I've said that spurs them onto their next adventure or exploration spiritually. And that is the best any of us can do. We're all put here with varying degrees of psychic abilities that can be exercised and attuned as we want. Can you hear the kookaburras? Good morning, everyone from Australia. Yeah, okay, so I think they're laughing at me. All right, well, I'll wrap it up there. I hope that you found some of this insightful if you find yourself on this journey and you're not sure what to hold on to or learn because you're all over the place and your listening and learning and reading habits are really eclectic. Maybe eclectic is your superpower. It's okay. And if you've just had one sort of spiritual or religious container that you've been in your whole life, that's okay too. But even if you explore, investigate, learn about other practices, it doesn't mean you have to follow them or adhere to any of it. It's just then a point of education, not practice. It's good to know what others are doing. It doesn't mean it resonates with you. And we all must be open and receptive to everybody's processes and ways. It's a human limitation, really. Religion and these labels for different modalities of spirituality are a human limitation. It is all one, no matter what we name it, no matter how we package it. It's never going to change. It is what it is in the deepest sense. So I suppose in all of this, I keep pressing that communication is key for each other because of our language, and we're not telepathic and we need to describe things. This is maybe why we have ended up with all these modalities and different names. So I'm working in this formless shamanism with birds a lot, and they're right here with me today. I love this. Anyway, it's probably getting too noisy now, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, everyone.